completely private, and I don't have to share my data with anyone, not with us, or not with the service that actually decides to use World ID. On the next slide, we explain the actual flow of the sign-up and what happens to the data. So first, as I mentioned before, you download the World app. On the World app, you essentially create a key pair locally on the device. The next, you show up in front of a physical device called the orb. You show your QR code, and the orb takes a photo. It takes actually a couple different photos, as I mentioned before. One, to verify that you're an actual human being. You do not try to fraud the system. And then second, it takes a picture of the eye, because the eye has a lot of structure, has a lot of information to it, to calculate a unique code about each user. Then second, that uniqueness, that iris code is compared against everyone else that ever has used WorldCoin before. So what that does is then it verifies the uniqueness. So me, Alex, I did not verify for WorldCoin before, or I do not try to fraud the system in any way. Because that's one of the things that usually is happening on the internet in any such situations, is that you have fraudsters and kind of bots attacking such systems and claiming rewards many, many times. And World ID essentially verifies that that is not the case here. Once that happens, you receive your World ID that then you can decide to use freely on the internet to log in to different services. And as I again mentioned before, this is not mentioned in that slide specifically because it's a more technical detail, but I think it is very important to understand, is that whenever then I decide to use World ID, zero knowledge proofs ensure complete privacy and anonymity of the service. One of the main concerns that, Honorable Chair, you have shared with us as a question is what actually happens to the data, where is the data stored? And so first and foremost, the orb by default deletes all images during processing. So that means, again, liveness is checked, images of my face is being taken, then image of my eye is being taken, iris code is being calculated, and then the iris code is the actual thing leaving the device, while all the pictures are deleted by default. The user can decide to help us with training the system. So there's a little checkbox in the app that you can click, OK, I want to help to kind of improve WorldCoin. In that case, the images are stored in a secure AWS data storage. Well, the exact AWS server are in buckets in the AU, in the United States, Brazil, India, Singapore, and South Africa. Specifically, if users sign up in Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, or Nigeria, then such images are stored in South Africa or in the EU, depending on the latency at the time of sign-up. That is because AWS does not have data storages in Kenya specifically, so that's the closest physical location to do that. As I briefly mentioned before, if one agrees to the biometric data consent form but does not enable opt-into data custody, the images are deleted after the orb creates the iris code based on a user's iris image. We do not retain or transfer the images to our database. Second, if the user agrees to the biometric consent form and enables opt-into data custody, such a user allows WorldCoin to store this information and transfer this data to our teams in Europe and the United States for the purpose of training our algorithms. So that is something that I think all of us are very used to. And when we use technology services, you can often click, even with Apple on my iPhone, I can often click, OK, I want to help improve Apple's product, and then more data is being shared. By default, however, that is not the case. So now, discussing the WorldCoin token. And I'm very well aware that all of these concepts are rather new, more recent kind of technological steps that have been taken. So why does this token exist? Why is it so important? And why did it launch on July 24th? There's three main things for this. Fundamentally, what we want to achieve is decentralization, as I mentioned before. This truly matters because I personally do believe, and so do we believe, that WorldCoin might end up being a very central and very important technological primitive that will be very important in all of our daily lives. That being the case, it should not be us as a central company having control, but rather we want to distribute ownership over this technology to all of its users, and that is what the WorldCoin token achieves. Second, one of the things that technology services usually face in their early days is that they only become useful once they have some amount of users, once they actually have some people using the service. One of the very famous examples is the launch of PayPal, and some of the honorable members might remember this launch. So when PayPal launched, for example, PayPal gave all of its users $20 to start using PayPal. They did that because PayPal is only useful when I can start sending money to my friends, and there's some amount of people actually using PayPal. Otherwise, the network doesn't have any value. And so that's the second thing the WorldCoin token achieves. It helps to get the network to some useful size of people actually using it. And last but not least, which admittedly is very early, but will become increasingly important in the coming years, is the governance rights of the technology. So I think one of the most important things that kind of decentralized technologies do, and crypto does, is that it distributes governance away from the initial team to the users and the companies using this technology. And that's the third thing that WorldCoin token does. And what this means is, to give you a very simple example, it might be that the way we initially implemented the protocol is not as useful anymore to certain companies or services, and there might be a proposed change to the way, let's say, the World ID login works. In that case, I, Alex, will not be able anymore to do that change, but rather all WorldCoin users will have to vote to make that change. So essentially you walk a path to democratic governance over the technology itself. And so these three reasons are why the WorldCoin token exists. I think we can skip the next slide and go directly to two ways to receive WorldCoin token. In our case, which is special and nothing that is the case for usual projects, is, well, one, you can purchase the token on the open market, meaning you can buy it on crypto exchanges. But second, of course, you can verify yourself with an orb, and you receive some amount of the WorldCoin token, actually periodically. So it's not a one-time thing, but rather every 2 weeks, all of the WorldCoin users receive some ownership in the protocol through the WorldCoin token. To discuss users receiving the WorldCoin token after being verified with an orb, we just some clarifying details around this. So first of all orb verified World ID holders are eligible to claim their free share of WorldCoin, and that amount is periodically. So again, it's not a one-in-moment act, but rather it happens periodically every 2 weeks. At launch, every user received 25 WorldCoin. Since that launch, the amount has slowly been reduced, and it will continue to do so over the coming years. Today, all orb verified World ID holders are entitled to 3 WorldCoin tokens for every claim period, which is 2 weeks. Note, verified World ID holders in Kenya have access to this peer-to-peer network. More information is in the appendix. What that means, access to a peer-to-peer network, is just, well, it was a motivation to make it very easy for Kenyans to be able to change the Worldcoin token to Kenyan shillings, and so that's why this has been implemented. The World app is simply the first application that allows usage of the Worldcoin protocol. In the coming years, many of the other major technology companies in that space will allow to do the same thing, allow the same actions. So, for example, Coinbase and others will very likely integrate with Worldcoin. And it is available for both Apple and Android. It is a non-custodial wallet, which means we as Tools for Humanity, we actually do not have control of the funds, but you as a user have full control of your funds. You have the keys on your phone. And when you decide to send Worldcoin tokens to a friend, also this happens in a peer-to-peer manner, meaning it does not go through an intermediary, but rather it goes to a decentralized blockchain to fulfill this transaction. The World app, how it actually looks like, is, well, the main motivation was to make it very simple, to make it very easy to understand. And so it has 3 tabs. First, the World Wallet, the second tab is World ID, and the third tab is Worldcoin claiming. And the World Wallet essentially just gives you an overview over your Worldcoin holdings, potential other crypto holdings, and lets you withdraw these holdings or send them to your friends or to other businesses. The World ID tab lets you verify yourself online with World ID. How this specifically looks like is, let's say Twitter or X decides to integrate World ID, and me as user of X or Twitter, I have to verify myself to use Twitter. A QR code will show up, and I go to my World app. I go to the second tab, the World ID tab, and essentially I just scan that QR code with my phone and verify myself with World ID. So it's very easy to understand. And then the last tab is the Worldcoin claiming. So that's actually where I use my World ID to receive my Worldcoin tokens on a recurring basis. The project structure, which I will hand over to Thomas.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Committee, thank you. Again, my name is Thomas Scott. I'm the Chief Legal Officer for Tools for Humanity. I learned yesterday that the word would be wakili in Swahili. The Honorable Member earlier raised a point of order, and as a wakili, I like to keep things orderly. So I will just confirm the representation that was made as to Ariana Isaias. She is an attorney with Bowman's, and to the best of my knowledge, although I have not met the new child, she has had a child in the last couple weeks. So thank you. Because I am a lawyer, I'm also not very technical. So I will just offer an example recently of why this project feels important to me and why I've decided to take time working on it. There were recently many images online that could fool even a very savvy person. I grew up as a Catholic in the United States, and there was one of the Pope, and he was wearing a big poofy jacket. He looked like a hip-hop star, a big white poofy jacket, and that was not real. It made it in the newspapers. You can go online, you can take a test, and you can see for yourself, can I tell Is this a real photograph, or is it a fake photograph? This is the very new challenge that humanity faces. And it's a challenge that is technical, but it's also a challenge that raises very important ethical questions and questions of the work of this committee, of democracy. So thank you for your time. With new technologies come new business models, new ways of organizing. As Alex mentioned, this new technology, and for clarification, I'm on this slide. It has 3 parts, just so you can follow. Forgive me for skipping 2. When you have new technology, it calls for new ways of organizing. And in this case, decentralized technology is best organized when shared, when owned by everyone. And that's what we are trying to build at Tools for Humanity. Now that is a challenge, because you start to build something like the Orb device. It's complicated. You can't rely on volunteer bake sales. You have to have a group of people together to work on it. But how do you go from that to a company that we know, like a corporation, to something else, to something owned by everyone? How do we hand this off? That is the journey, the decentralization journey we are on. So as part of that, we have these 3 parts. WorldCoin, the open source protocol my colleague Alex mentioned. And there is a global community of developers, some with Tools for Humanity, some independent, who work on it, who contribute to it, who build on top of it. So if you can imagine something like the Apple App Store. Apple does not make all of those apps. As you know, there are hundreds of companies that make these apps. And then they go to Apple to get their app in the App Store. WorldCoin, we hope, will become a platform like that, where others build on top. But it won't be owned by Steve Jobs or one person, but by the very users of the network. Tools for Humanity is the company that started this journey. As Alex said, it was founded by him and Sam Altman, our most famous colleague, and a third person, Max Novenstern, who's no longer with our project. We have 2 entities, one in the United States, where I sit and work, and a wholly owned subsidiary in Germany. Alex, you might have noticed, is German, and so we have a large team there. And then the third entity that's most important to understand is the WorldCoin Foundation. The WorldCoin Foundation is the first step on our decentralization journey from company to decentralized community. So its job is to build that community, to bring people in, to set up new ways of governing themselves and making decisions about the direction of this platform. If Apple has a board of directors and a CEO, the foundation is memberless. It has no owners. And its mandate is to bring the ideas and the goals of that community and execute on them. And that's a long journey, but we have started it. If you could turn to the next slide, called Organizational Structure. You'll see in the top right corner, Tools for Humanity Corporation, United States. That's where I work. That's where Alex works. That's where Sam Sadel works. We continue to operate the World app. Remember the 3 pillars: World ID, WorldCoin token, and World app. The app is just one client, just like in the App Store. Apple has lots of things. World app is one way to access that platform. And we, of course, we're the incubator, the starter of this project. We are now handing things off to this WorldCoin Foundation. The WorldCoin Foundation is independent. Alex is not on the board. I am not on the board. no one from Tools for Humanity governs the WorldCoin Foundation. But what we did is we gave them our ideas, our inventions, the orb patents, the name WorldCoin, all of that intellectual property we gave to the WorldCoin Foundation so that they can build this community and they can, through that community, decide how best to use and carry forward this technology. So that's why in that top left corner, it refers to the token, governance, grants, and community. That is the role of the foundation. You'll notice in the bottom left corner, there is another entity, WorldCoin Assets Limited. That is the actual entity that holds the WorldCoin token and that issues them. So when someone signs up and they claim their WorldCoin tokens, that is the entity that gives them the tokens. If you could please proceed to the next slide, also called organizational structure. This is just an overview describing the many places where we have engaged in field testing and where today World ID verifications continue to take place. Kenya is in brackets right now for reasons I think you understand on the committee. And you will note the asterisk at the bottom. The United States, World ID is available in the United States. We sign up users now in New York, San Francisco, Miami. The WorldCoin token is not intended to be available in the United States. For reasons, as an attorney, I'm happy to go into in the questioning, but a World ID is available. At core, that reason why the token is not is the lack of regulatory clarity around crypto tokens in the United States. If you could please proceed to the next slide. So, okay, I gave you our entities, United States, Germany, Foundation, and then I told you World ID verifications are in 20 countries. How does this work? In each country, the WorldCoin Foundation and its partner at Tools for Humanity works with local partners, operational leadership, law firms like Bowman's, political consultancies, logistics companies to aid in the importation of orb devices, the storage of orb devices, marketing firms, and then our operator partners, sometimes called orb operators. These are the individuals who, of course, are sitting at a booth in a mall like Westgate or at Strathmore University campus or somewhere else, operating this orb device, explaining the project to people, and helping them sign up to get a verified World ID. So if you could proceed to section 4, we'll now turn to a bit closer to WorldCoin in Kenya. I'll just note that this is truly, personally, a very special moment for me. I studied and worked and lived in Southern Africa for about 3 years. And the opportunity to be here with you all is really something I never would have imagined professionally. So it's very exciting. So if you could go to the next slide, WorldCoin in Kenya today. I will touch on this, and then I will hand off to my colleague, Sam. There have been questions, and this came through in your letter, which we can get into in the next portion here. Why Kenya? Why so much focus here? And I note that in multiple recent speeches from the U.S. ambassador to Kenya, I looked as I was traveling here, and do you know what the title was? It was Why Kenya? And her answers are the same. The level of tech adoption here, the level of talent here, the level of political stability and integrity here. We felt that this was a place alongside Portugal and Chile where the ideas alongside the technology could be tested, could be improved, and would ultimately find people who would adopt it and champion it and use it. With that, I'll hand off to my colleague, Mr. Sam Sadel, and thank you for your time, committee, honorable committee.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Committee. My name is Sam Sadel. I lead government engagement and public policy for Tools for Humanity.
Maybe before you, I've seen you indicated that there is already, according to you, confirmed 4 million Kenyans already subscribing to cryptocurrencies. That's a confirmed figure?
It has been, yes, Honorable Chair, has been reported in the press. That's not from us. That's what we have read from press reports.
Okay.
Yes, that information is available online, Honorable Chair.
4 million Kenyans already subscribers of cryptocurrencies.
Correct. And that does not specifically focus on us. That is the broader cryptocurrency ecosystem, including Bitcoin and Ether and others. If you would, please, we're currently, we'll be speaking through this slide here, WorldCoin in Kenya today. We're very proud of the work that we have done here in Kenya with our local partners, but also and how we have become embedded and integrated here in the Kenyan technology community. I just want to quickly share with you some statistics. So far, we've had more than 630,000 app downloads. That's people have downloaded the app on their smartphones. Of those, roughly 300,000 have visited and become ORB verified, which is receiving their proof of humanity, as Alex spoke about, the World ID. 335,000 have not been ORB verified, but have downloaded the app. I just wanted to make sure that we were very clear on the exact numbers. Of those, 301,000 ORB verified users have claimed their share of WorldCoin, roughly 13.7 million WorldCoin tokens here in Kenya. Of the 300,000 who have not been ORB verified, they're able to claim tokens but not receive them until they become ORB verified. So roughly 194,000 Kenyans have claimed about 5 million WorldCoin that are being held in abeyance until they're able to be verified through their proof of humanity.
So that take them to 700,000, the verified and unverified Kenyans.
So 301,000 ORB verified, 335,000 not ORB verified.
But they're in the system, at
correct.
some level of the system.
Correct. They've downloaded the app.
Yeah, meaning there are almost over 700,000 who had already keyed in.
No, I'm sorry, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, the verified is over 300,000, 301.
Yeah, so the total people who have downloaded the app is 635,000.
Okay.
Of that, 301,000 have visited an ORB for personhood verification. The remainder have not yet done so. Great. Prior to July 24th, we have been providing proof of personhood humanness verifications since 2021. We were located at more than 20 locations around the city, including malls, the Hub, Sarid Center, Imara Mall, and elsewhere. We believe that we, as part of our effort, was to ensure that we reached a broad strata of Kenyan society, from the malls to stores, and really people from all across Nairobi. And that's why you see we've included a map here just to show you how many locations we had operating prior to July 24th. Since then, as of course, you all know, July 24th, as Alex mentioned, was when the token launched. And then we changed our operations model. And of course, as you all saw the long lines and the high demand at KICC that occurred after those days. Since we received the order from various government entities to halt operations, however, we have received many questions constantly, every day. When are you coming back to Kenya? When can I receive my World ID? From those 335,000 people who have downloaded the app but not yet been able to receive a World ID. And these are just some of the comments from folks that we get every day asking when we'll be able to come back. And we're excited. We hope that we'll be able to work with you all and the government as a whole to find a way to bring this service to Kenyans who are asking us to receive it. Finally, with that, I'm going to pass it back to Alex to finish this up, and then we will be able to continue on. Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Committee.
Honorable Chair, honorable members, thank you so much for taking the time to understand RUTO in depth, not only today, but also in the last weeks. We are here to answer all of your questions as honestly and in depth as we can. And that's it with the initial presentation. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Alex and Tools for Humanity team, for that very elaborate elaboration and description of who you are. I think it has really made members understand them more better and in depth. I'd also noticed that there is another small presentation. It's more deeper.
The details. Yes,
it's
Honorable
actually
Chair.
the details.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
It's about 13 page. So I need the indulgence of members. From what you have learned from the PowerPoint, and there is more detailed small document. Do they give them to continue, or will we have a small break, 15 minutes?
Chair, maybe we ask questions first, then we break. Before it, we break. Okay.
Honorable Chair, we can take a break of 15 minutes, and also we'll be taken through this into details. As you know, Honorable Chair, the devil is in the details.
Honorable Chair, we would be happy to walk through the 9 questions and the details that the Honorable Member requested.
Yeah, you know, definitely the entire 40 or 50 million Kenyans are really interested in this, and they are watching and following. So we want really to unpackage the entire thing for the benefit of Kenyans. So we're going to give it ample time. So I think the feeling, in the mood in the house, we give us 15 minutes, a bit health break.
Chair, 15 are too many. Give us 10.
No, 15 is... just keep time. 15, then we come back. Then you will start with the other document. Then before maybe we go now to the questions.
So,
the
Chair,
plenary.
to be specific, we come back at 11:47.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then from there, we finish this one, then we go to the plenary.
After so many years of after so many years. Where are you? 20? 2020? 2021. 2020. 2020. I think by the time I figured 2021, we should have whatever.
Ona huyu mtu unashikilia pana chuma na magari baya. I've never been to Mombasa.